What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the channel. Today what we got here is the KingKong, or the LDARC's Tiny GT7. Now, I don't know what GT stands for, but it should stand for guaranteed toughness, because this is one tough tiny hoop, as you saw in the intro video. It is a 2S brushless 75mm tiny hoop by KingKong. And KingKong has been making tiny hoops for a while. Notable standout are the ET series. Those are not tiny hoops. Those are like big or mega hoops. I really recommend one of those ET series quadcopter if you are a beginner acro flyer. Those things can take punishment and still fly, and nothing breaks on it. I whacked concrete on it, and I whacked trees on it. I got stuck in a tree. I had to pull it down, and it fell on the ground, still intact, and it still flies just as if it is new. And this is no different. This is just a scaled down version of those ET series. Seems like it is one solid quadcopter. Has a solid frame, very tough. It gives a little, so it is not that brittle plastic, so it won't break on you. And the canopy itself is solid as well. After all those crashes, all I got is that small little scratch right on the tip right there, and a little scrape on that VTX button on the concrete. So this is one very, very tough tiny hoop. So the GT7 comes in the PNP version and bind and fly versions with Spectrum, the FR Sky and Fly Sky receiver versions. And this one here is the FR Sky version, as well as the Futaba. It comes with the AC 900 receiver. Very easy to bind with the bind button. Being highly accessible from the bottom, so you don't have to remove anything to bind this quadcopter to your transmitter. And the micro USB connection port is right in the front, and it is horizontal, so you don't have to plug in your USB cable on the bottom. So when you want to calibrate your accelerometer in Betaflight, you can actually leave the quadcopter right on the table to calibrate your accelerometer. And this USB also powers up the receiver, so you can use it to bind your transmitter, as well as you can power it up using the battery connector to power up the receiver to do your binding process. And we are given this 2S balance connector, which is not very desirable, but it does work for this quadcopter. So the props are the 1535 tri-bladed props, and the motors that we are given are the LDARC branded 803 9000 kV motors. Now, it has a fairly low kV rating versus quadcopters like the Mobula 7, which is also a 2S tiny hoop. That one, I believe, came with the 802 16,000 kV motors, but the GT7 has enough power for flips and power loops and stuff like that. Now, the Mobula 7 also is a very lightweight tiny hoop. That one comes in at about 27 or 28 grams, whereas this Tiny GT7 will come in at 41 grams. So there's a big difference in weight as well. All right, so here's the quadcopter with the canopy removed, so we can take a look at the fly controller slash ESC combo board. And it is a proprietary flight controller board made by KingKong. They are calling it the F3E10A flight controller, and the target is the SP Racing F3 firmware, and it came with the Betaflight 3.4.1 firmware right out of the box. And it also has a built-in 4-in-1 10 amp BLHeli SD-Shot 600 ESCs, and we have the VTX right up underneath, embedded inside the canopy, as well as the FPV camera. And it is a 25 milliwatt 16 channel VTX, specially designed particularly for this model, but the same 16 channel VTX, just like all of the other KingKong products. Now, this one comes with a built-in smart OSD version 1. I've checked it out. It is a limited OSD menu. You are not able to change PIDs and such, unlike the Betaflight OSD. So you are able to put your call sign and change some of the parameters in there, but nothing like the Betaflight OSD. And we are also given this copper FPV antenna. It does the job, but you are limited in range. You can go about 100 to about 120 meters until it starts to give you a little bit of snow. And the camera that we are given here is the 800 TV line 150-degree field of view NTSC FPV camera, just like all of the other KingKong products. It is a fixed angle camera, and we are looking at about a 10-degree up tilt, I believe. But it does have a 150-degree field of view, so it is all right. But nowadays, all of the other Tiny hoops are coming with adjustable, tiltable FPV camera, which is just an awesome feature. But 150-degree field of view does the job. So to change the channels of the VTX, all you got to do is power up the quadcopter and use this button to flip through the 16 channels of the VTX. Now, this button is connected to a rod, which will hit that little button on the VTX. Now, if you want to go and change some of the parameters in the Osd menu, what you need to do is hold this button and power up the quadcopter at the same time, and at which time it will give you a Osd menu on your goggles or your monitor. And you use the same single button to navigate through the Osd menu. All right, so here we are in the Osd menu, and there is a timer. You have 40 seconds to make some changes before it gets out of the Osd menu from your latest input. So I'm going to go ahead and press the button, single press it, and it'll run through the parameters. And if you long press it, it will get you into the parameters, and you can go ahead and scoot through that particular parameter. As you can see, I'm just short pressing it, and the back button, if I long press it, I can go ahead and get out of that parameter. And that will be the battery voltage. I have set it on 2S. Well, it comes already preset on 2S. So let's go on down to the next one. That will be the voltage alarm. I've got it set to 3.3, but you can go ahead and change it to 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, or you can get out, or you can also uncheck it and put an X on it to just get rid of that function altogether. All right, so let me get out of that parameter, long press it, and I'm out. The next one is the lines, the horizontal lines, the horizon line and stuff like that. So if you want to do that, go ahead and pick one of those. I got it checked off, so I don't have it anymore, but you will see that I do have the default when I was doing my FPV flights. So the next one is you can choose automatic, you can choose PAL, or you can choose NTSC, and it is set on automatic. And the next one is a timer, and the timer is on the bottom right. As you can see that if you want that timer, you can check it, or if you don't want it, you can exit out. And the next one, you can go ahead and do your call sign. I put RC escape on here. So what you want to do is long press it, and you will go through each of the letters, and you can long press on each of the letter, like the letter E. I'll long press it, and it'll give me the option to go ahead and change it through all of the alphabets. It doesn't go backwards. You have to scoot through all of the letters until you come to the one that you want. And there you go. Let me long press on the E to put the E back on there, and let me exit out. All right, and there you go. The countdown begins at 40 seconds, and if you just leave it alone, in 40 seconds, it will exit the Osd menu. All right, so here is the box that the quadcopter came in. I put the quadcopter back in the box so we can show you exactly how it came. It is a locking box, slightly different than the previous boxes that we are given by KingKong, and the quadcopter is embedded right in here, and we have the battery that comes along with it, and it is a 380 milliamp 7.4 volt with just the balance connector, and we are just given one battery. And here we have a little connector, so you can balance charge your battery utilizing just the balance connector. So you connect the battery to this cable, and you are given a JST as well as the balance plug, so you can go ahead and charge it up using your hobby grade charger. And if we take the top plate off, we have the instruction booklet, and it comes in Chinese as well as English, and it goes on to show you everything you need to know, the good old KingKong fashion. Tells you everything about the VTX, how to go about binding it to FI-Sky, Fly-Sky, Futaba, DSM. So very, very nice. And it goes on to show you the Betaflight configurations. Yeah, most of the pages in Betaflight configuration. So very, very nice. And we are also given the documentation for the AC900 dual mode receiver, which is FI-Sky and Futaba dual mode. And we are given some stickers, of course, if you want to stick it on your quadcopter. I did not stick anything on there, but you can stick stuff like the GT and, you know, be all out with the stickers. And here are some screws we are given. And we are also given this bag that is kind of sticky taped to the case. And here's the USB to micro USB cable. And we are given some extra props. 2 full set of extra props in red. But the black looks a lot better with this black canopy. Too bad they don't give us the red canopy with this quadcopter. So that is everything that comes with the quadcopter in the box. So I'm really liking this KingKong Tiny GT7. It is one very, very tough 2S tiny hoop with enough power for maneuvers outdoors and yet controllable enough for indoors as well. So I would categorize it as an indoor, outdoor tiny hoop. I did, however, put some stress on these joints here. As you can see, it did turn white, but it is still intact and it did not break off. Another thing I like about this GT7 is the micro USB connector being horizontal, so you are not holding the quadcopter upright while calibrating the accelerometer in Betaflight. You can just leave it on the table, connect the USB cable, and do all your configuration. But there are a few things I didn't like so much on this quadcopter as well, and one of them is the VTX antenna. The VTX antenna is just a copper wire. If it was the dipole antenna like the ET series, it would have been a lot better instead of this copper wire. Second is the Osd menu. It is a limited Osd menu, and I would have much rather preferred the Betaflight Osd menu, for it has the capability of changing other parameters like PIDs and such. Finally, the battery size. Now, and also the connector. I do have some batteries that will fit in the battery bay, like these here, but these are all old and weak batteries, and the newer, flatter 2S batteries that I do have a lot of will not fit in this battery bay. And to charge up the battery provided, well, you will have to use this connector cable. So if you got more of this same battery, you can only charge one at a time with a hobby grade charger. So coming up next is a couple of flights. The first one is my maiden FPV test flight, and the second one is a free flight in the backyard. So that is it for now on this KingKong Tiny GT7. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Have a great day, and we will see you again next time. All right, here we go with our first FPV flight with the KingKong Tiny GT7. So let's check it out. I've got the battery that comes with it attached here, so we'll see how long of a flight time it will provide us. And so far, it is a very smooth flyer. Okay, there's a little bit of static there. So I don't expect to be able to go too far, but let's just go ahead and see how far we can take it before we lose video signal. I don't think you will ever probably fly this thing this far, but there's the 100-meter bush, and it made it to the 100-meter bush. And look at that, the signal disappeared and I'm getting it back now. So that's about the distance that you can go with this quadcopter with that copper wire FPV antenna. Alright, so far it is doing pretty good. Very smooth. Let's see if I can do a flip. There we go. I just saw the battery low level alarm indicator right underneath of the voltage display. Yeah, you can do flips with this thing. It's got enough power. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, you also can do a power loop. Awesome. Now this thing is made so durable that it does weigh up a little bit compared to the other lightweight tiny hoops that I've been testing out recently. Oh yeah, not bad. Decent. Yeah, that is not bad at all. You are able to do some maneuvers with this thing. But I think it's mainly made for a quick backyard flight as well as indoor flights. There's a little bit of static there on the other side of the car. So I think KingKong made it so durable that you can bang it around and not break anything. It's very, very tough, this little thing. The frame is just solid. I don't think it will even break if you even went full speed onto something. Nice. Yeah, this is another nice. Woohoo! This is another nice tiny hoop for the winter months. And I think everybody is trying to take advantage of the weather situation and giving us all these tiny hoops. We got a whole array of tiny hoops with brushless motors now. Some with just 1S, and now here's a handful with 2S. And KingKong has jumped in the bandwagon of the 2S. The only thing is the battery. I don't have too many batteries that just fits in this battery bay of this quadcopter, so that's kind of too bad that I can't utilize some of my other 2S batteries with the JSC connector and such. But they all do have the balance connector, and so far this balance connector seems to be providing enough juice and delivering it, and I'm not having any blackouts or anything like that, so that's nice. Somebody made a donut here. Must have been kind of soft dirt when they did so, because they dug in quite a bit. Trying to find a new spot, new flat spot, and somebody comes in and destroys my nice flat part of the desert. Yeah, so we've been flying for quite a bit now, and we are down to 3.27 volts. I think I should be landing here soon. I don't want to go below 3 volts. You might not recover from your battery level that way. So there you go, guys, our first FPV flight with the KingKong Tiny GT7. Pretty decent.
imagination.